In this video, I hope to give a simple overview of the major Christian views of the millennium. There are four major millennial views among conservative Christians. These views are Dispensational Premillennialism, Historic Premillennialism, Amillennialism, and Postmillennialism. I will address these views in this order. First is Dispensational Premillennialism. This is probably the view that most Western Christians are familiar with. Some Christians incorrectly think that this is the only view. The dispensational premillennial view is rather complex. I will make it as simple as I can. On the screen, I have listed the main events that occur on the dispensational timeline. These events are grouped on the timeline according to when they happen. As you can see, the rapture and the resurrection of the church-age saints occurs just prior to the tribulation, which lasts 7 years or less, depending on which dispensational teacher you listen to. After the tribulation is the return of Christ and the resurrection of the Old Testament and the tribulation saints. Then begins the millennium, or the 1,000-year reign of Christ from Revelation 20. Dispensationalists believe that the millennium is literally 1,000 years in length, which is why I have written it as I have on the basic timeline. After the 1,000 years is the resurrection of the wicked, the final judgment, the new heavens and new earth, and the new Jerusalem. All of these occur at the outset of the eternal state. Please remember that this is a simple chart and that not all variations of dispensational thought are presented here. On the dispensational timeline, there are at least 2 comings of Christ and 3 resurrections. Some variations of the system have more. Historic premillennialism is next. It is historically older than dispensational premillennialism, hence the word historic in the name. There are traces of an early version of historic premillennialism in the writings of a few of the 2nd and 3rd century church fathers. By contrast, the first record we have of dispensational premillennialism comes from 1830. As you can see, historic premillennialism is less complex than dispensationalism. According to historic premillennialism, the return of Christ and the rapture occur at the same time, along with the first resurrection. This begins the 1,000-year reign of Christ on earth, also called the millennium. At the end of the millennium, there is the second resurrection, the final judgment, the new heavens and new earth, and the new Jerusalem. These things, again, are at the beginning of the eternal state. Note that whereas dispensational premillennialism had 2 comings of Christ and 3 resurrections, historic premillennialism has 1 coming of Christ and 2 resurrections. I am treating both and postmillennialism together here because they have the same timeline. This timeline is the simplest of them all. Both and postmillennialism teach that we are currently in the millennium. On these views, the millennium began in the ministry of Christ in the 1st century and will end when he returns. Christ's return includes the rapture. At his return, there is the resurrection, the final judgment, the new heaven and the new earth, the new Jerusalem, and the start of the eternal state. Note that whereas dispensational premillennialism had at least 2 comings of Christ and 3 resurrections, and historic premillennialism had 1 coming of Christ and 2 resurrections, and postmillennialism has only 1 coming of Christ and 1 resurrection. So I've now gone over a basic timeline for the 4 current millennial views in the Christian church. I hope this has been instructive and helpful to you. Thank you for watching. May the Lord bless you.